intro for this. Joey Moore is here with me today. Some people refer to him as the albino. Actually, I think it's just me.
That's racist.
The Yeti. That's racist. Not many people know what this is. A lot of people have asked me what I was doing. So I guess I'll just kind of say briefly what this is. This is just me trying to throw out my opinions. Because nowadays I feel like a lot of young people don't exactly know what's going on in the world. So this is just kind of a way for them to hear, I guess, some realness and see if they can get something out of the shitstorm that's going on. And the reason I brought Joey on is because he is one of the most avid, what is the proper way to say that? I guess libertarian would be a proper way.
Kind of. I don't really have a good description because I don't fit any labels. I know a lot of hipsters say that, so it's something you're familiar with hearing. But I'm a multi-party kind of person. I don't agree with any of them. I think they're all full of shit to an extent, and they all have their good points. So, yeah, I don't know how you describe that.
I don't know. On this particular issue, I guess I'd say that you're libertarian, and the issue would be gun control. A lot of people will either get super triggered when they hear that word, or they're just going to immediately ignore it because they don't care.
Right.
I feel like it's a big problem nowadays.
Which is funny, the ones that get super triggered are the ones that hate guns and usually have the physicality of, like, you know, a scarecrow.
Right.
And all of a sudden they want to attack the guy who's pro-gun and has a 45 strapped to his hip. Because that's a good idea.
With the big iron strapped on his
hip. Yeah, right. That song just instantly jumped in my head.
Right.
Way too much time in Fallout.
So I guess the first thing I want to talk about is some of the most recent shootings, I suppose. The most recent one that I heard of, at least, is the one that happened in Tennessee. Which is weird to me because the first thing I thought about was the one that happened in Parkland. I feel like, you know, the surrounding towns and stuff like that, like probably a lot of stuff changed. But the one that happened in Tennessee, you know, it's just kind of like, whatever. Like,
where's my fucking waffle?
Yeah,
not
much happened after that.
Yeah, a guy killed 4 people. Am I going to get my waffle today, or what's going on?
Give me my damn omelet.
Well, I mean, it's Tennessee. It's a red state. You know, I'm honest to God surprised there wasn't somebody armed in the Waffle House.
Right. I did see something weird where there was like Fox or somebody that was covering it. They were saying that the guy who took down the shooter was this black guy. And they said that this unarmed shooter like defended Waffle House or something. And that
Fox News is stupid. Yeah, he's black, so he must have a gun.
He's got a gun. I was like, what? That's just racist.
Yeah. Well, it's Fox News, so, you know, I mean,
I guess that's true.
The only job requirement to work as Fox News is that you're hot and stupid. So, I mean, that's it. And, you know, I'm speaking of their female correspondents, not the male ones, because then you got to be like 85 and white.
Yeah, that's true.
But
and touch little girls.
Yeah, I mean, he's an unarmed black guy, and you know, he just the guy's gun jammed because AR-15s tend to do that when you don't take care of them right. And most people who shoot up places, surprisingly enough, aren't gun people, so they don't know how to clean one. And hey, the gun jams that happened in Parkland. As well, that's why he only killed as many people as he did. They found his rifle discarded, and it looks like it jammed up, and he couldn't figure out how to fix it because he's a dumbass. So yeah, he fucking yoked the guy up, took his gun away from him, threw it over the counter, and, you know, put him down.
It's just kind of surprising. I don't know.
Well, I mean, when a guy's shooting at you and his gun jams, that's your chance. That's when you get him. You don't wait for him to fix it and then charge him.
I guess I'm not too terribly surprised that somebody in Tennessee did it, but like, I don't know. Nowadays, I just feel like it's going to get to the point where, like, I don't feel like there's ever going to stop being crazy people.
Well, no.
I do feel like at some point, I guess the newer generation will kind of outweigh the older generation.
Yeah.
Like maybe the people like this guy, I think the guy who took him down, actually, I think he was like maybe 30.
He's a younger guy,
yeah, I think. But I don't know. Like if something like that happens in California, like I don't know if there's that many people out there that are capable of some brave act like that, like, or if they'll just cower down.
No, they'll run.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember the shooting that happened out in California a couple of years ago with the Muslim couple that went and shot up their work.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
I don't think anybody stopped them until the police got there. I mean, I'd have to dig up some facts on it, but funny enough, they were using, weapons that are illegal in California.
Mm-hmm.
So they shouldn't have shot those people with those illegal weapons.
No, I would think not. I guess the next thing we could talk about besides the shootings, especially, I mean, it kind of segues into it, considering, a lot of the way people think nowadays has to deal with media is, I guess, the word, the lady, here comes the trigger, Emma Gonzalez.
Yes, that one.
I just
the teenager with all the answers, because that's never happened.
I was talking to my wife the other day about this, and she was saying that she doesn't know, or she doesn't want to say if she's right or wrong, but she's saying that it's kind of understandable the way that she has these kind of radical views now, because before, especially, I mean, being in a younger generation nowadays, because I'll get like almost 20 years on you. So being in a younger generation nowadays,
I've got almost 20 years on you.
Yeah, you got almost 20 years on me, whatever. But like, guns were never a thing that occurred, I guess. Like, it's never.
You mean shootings?
Yeah,
shootings were a thing. Yeah,
but like growing up, guns were never something that were talked about. Like, we didn't have to deal with it, so we never really had an opinion on it.
Yeah, and even, with your guys' age, there were probably people, well, maybe not, because after Columbine, people started getting really testy about people carrying guns with them. But when I went to school, I mean, it wasn't unusual to walk across the parking lot of the high school and there'd be 10 pickup trucks, with shotguns and deer rifles in the window, and nobody batted an eye. I went to high school every day that I went with a knife in my pocket. Nobody ever said anything because we didn't kill each other.
You see, it's stuff like that. Like,
yeah. It's a societal breakdown. It really is. There's something wrong in society that's making people go batshit crazy and go shoot places up.
I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with, like, say, even, what would it be, like 100 years ago, I guess. Yeah, that'd be about right. Like 100 years ago, like, just the way we survive nowadays is different, and we have all this time that we can actually think about the way we feel or the way we think or say stuff like that. And I feel like that's kind of making people go a little crazy because they don't have to survive.
I think they spend too much time thinking about how they feel. And I think a lot of it, bullying has really come into the picture of pushing people over the edge because you can't get away from it anymore. When I was growing up and you got bullied, when you went home, it was over. And then you'd talk to your dad and you'd say, Dad, what'd I do? You beat the shit out of the guy. And that's what would happen. You and the bully, he would come up and take your lunch money and you'd smack him in the fucking mouth and then it would stop. Usually, if not, you smacked him in the fucking mouth again. But nowadays, you can't, you smack a guy in the mouth and they throw your ass out of school, and you may never, ever be allowed to come back. And when you go home from school, you've still got Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, because God forbid you put your fucking phone down, you can't get away anymore.
Well, nowadays it's just so ingrained. Like phone, social media,
oh my God,
like that. Like, it's so ingrained with the way we live.
I haven't watched a movie with my wife in 5 years where she wasn't on her damn phone. And it's like, and I find myself doing it too. I'm sitting there watching a movie and next thing you know, fucking Facebook, God damn it, Zuckerberg, you fucking got me, you bastard.
The damn lizard people, they're taking over.
Just go off topic for a second, but that son of a bitch is worth like $60 billion. Can he not get a decent haircut?
Right.
It's like...
God damn. Could he not smile a little better? Like I saw the Congress hearing and I was like, what are you doing?
And he's sitting on his big boy cushion.
His charging pad.
Somebody please get Zuckerberg a barber. Like a real one. One of those old school guys, you know.
It's like his mom is over waiting at his house.
With a bowl. $60 billion, that guy.
I just don't know. Like, I mean, whenever I was in high school, I had to do like a research paper on bullying and stuff like that. And I did get to like glimpse into, say, what exactly bullying is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I never really thought about it that way until, like, I started reading all these books and, like, reading all these studies and stuff like that. And it's, like, it is taking a toll on people to, like, you know, get bullied every day and then they go home and it's still coming at them. Like, they don't have any safe place.
Nope.
Like, before, you could go home and that's your safe space. You don't have to worry about it or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to use that word, but...
I hate for you to use it.
But, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like nowadays people have... And I hate to say it, but I feel like nowadays people have forgotten how to be... What's the word?
Courteous.
Not even courteous.
Decent.
Like, they've forgotten how to be, like...
Human.
Adults. Like, or grown-ups. Like...
And you know what solves that? A lot of the times? A good smack in the fucking mouth.
Like,
I'm telling you. If a guy gets bullied at school and he beats the shit out of him, it's going to solve a lot of problems. First of all, number one, nobody's going to fuck with a kid anymore because do you see what that motherfucker did? He beat the shit out of that guy. But, I mean, that's not a solve-all, really. I mean, it's from, you know, when I grew up. But it worked. It worked. You got a little self-esteem. You fucking felt better about yourself. Holy shit, I don't have to take shit off people all the time. You know? And the guy that bullied, it wasn't really good for them because they got their ass kicked, so now everybody knows they're a pussy and can't take a punch. And usually those guys are bullying people because their life's shit too. It's really 9 times out of 10 that's why, because they have no power. You know, they have no control over their own life. That's why they're bullying other people, because they want that control. And if you can't get that control, nowadays you go buy an AR-15 and shoot up fucking school, apparently. So.
I just don't know. Like.
Well, I don't think we're not psychologists, you know.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but like, say like, not with Nicholas Cruz, but like some scrawny little kid like nowadays that you see, like, at least they portray as like this little kid that gets picked on by this big jock or whatever, which I never saw in high school. Like, if anybody was being picked on, like, I was bullied a little bit, I guess you'd say. Like, it wasn't to the point where, like, they'd give me swirlies or punch me in the mouth or anything. But, like, they'd take stuff from me all the time, or they'd, like, pick on me or something like that. But, like, it just never was the way that they portrayed it. And I just feel like nowadays, at least, like, older generations, I don't feel like aren't like this. But nowadays, it's like people have this kind of caring mentality about people. And, like, about people who are lesser than them or anything. Like, we care about everything nowadays. So I feel like if somebody is having a hard time, like, you should be able to step up and be that grown-up or be that adult that you just step in and take care of that person. But I feel like nowadays, and it was obvious with Emma Gonzalez whenever she was talking, that March for Our Lives or whatever. In her speech, she was saying, if you think that not bullying this kid would have made a difference, you didn't know him or something like that. Not word for word, but that's kind of
I don't remember her exact words, but she basically said, you know, when she heard that the shooting was happening, they all knew who it was. And that it's a failure of the system, in the respect that just the amount of times that guy was reported to the police and report it twice to the FBI. Went on whatever social media it was and said, "Oh, I want to be a professional school shooter." Why there was not a team of dudes kicking his fucking door in that day just is lost to me. And same thing happened with the Texas shooter. Guy was super violent. I think he was in the Air Force, if I remember right. Got a dishonorable discharge. I think smacked his wife around. When he was dishonorably discharged from the Air Force, that wasn't reported to NCIC. So when he went and bought the gun, they ran his background, came out fine. Everything's honky-dory. Here's your fucking AR-15 guy. Have a good day. If that had been reported, he never would have got that gun.
See, I feel like that's just...
Even misdemeanor, like domestic violence, you don't get a gun. You can't buy a gun anymore. You push your wife down, misdemeanor, done. No more guns, guy. You're finished. So it's like, the last two big shootings, I say big because the FBI defines a mass shooting as more than 4 people killed. So I guess Nashville was, because there was 4 people killed. 4 people, yeah. But I mean, 17 people in Parkland. I don't remember how many in Texas. Big shootings, a lot of people dead. Could have been prevented by people doing their damn job, period.
I feel like that's one thing that a lot of people kind of misconstrue, or like the media doesn't exactly tell you, I suppose. And I mean, I guess conspiracy theories might say the FBI or like the government's kind of leading the way that the media goes, but I don't feel like people don't really notice that, like, if gun control laws actually worked, or like the government or like these institutions actually work the way they're supposed to, then most of these wouldn't even happen. Like, it's not the fact that the gun is there. Yep. It's the fact that these people before didn't do their job.
That's exactly what happened in the last 2. The previous 2 before Nashville. The laws weren't followed. I don't know who in the Air Force decided it was a good idea to not report this, but that guy should be held accountable. These people should be held accountable. The people who ignored, which a lot of the problem in Parkland is it's an Obama-era policy. I don't know the exact name of it. I need to look it up and find it. But basically, too many high school kids were getting in trouble and going to jail. Pretty much what it boils down to. So they thought it'd be a good idea to stop this. So every time they'd call about Nicholas Cruz, okay, tough life, whatever. 27, 29 calls about this kid being violent and having issues. Even outside of school, there were times when the police were called on him. He went over to a friend's house with his mom and he got violent, fighting and shit. Nothing. And this kid's able to go into a store and buy a gun. I'm like all about people being able to buy guns if they're not psychopaths or sociopaths.
I mean, 27 times.
Yeah. And 2 to the fucking FBI. If you're on the FBI's radar for anything, why are you allowed to buy a gun?
Right, I feel like the FBI should just show up as soon as you go buy a gun. And
yeah.
Like, hey, what the fuck are you doing
And
here?
especially when you're on whatever social media, I don't remember if it's YouTube or Instagram, saying, I want to be a professional school shooter. And then your name gets dinged on NCIC for buying an AR-15. Why the fuck is there not a squad of guys coming through his ceiling? It makes no sense.
Fucking dudes digging up through your damn floor.
It's like Tom Cruise in fucking Mission Impossible, just fucking snatching you up and taking you off somewhere. I mean, I don't think that the police should come into people's home for just any reason, but when you go on fucking social media and say, I want to be a professional school shooter, and then you go buy a AR-15, maybe they should show up. Just saying. Somebody come... Huh, you doing okay in there, guy?
What the fuck is going on? Been noticing some real strange stuff.
Yeah, what is this about, you want to be a professional school shooter, and then somebody sneaks up behind him, like tases him in the neck, and you drag him out and throw him in a van? I mean, if there's ever a case for waterboarding, let's get to the bottom of this. Yeah, that's the one. If you're dumb enough to go on anything and say, I'm going to shoot up a fucking school, there's no reason why you're walking around the streets.
No, God, no.
If you're dumb enough to go on there and say, I'm going to kill this fucker, and then the next day you go buy a gun, why?
I don't know. Like, and like, for the longest time, I never really thought about why or how, I guess, people could. And I forgot what it was, but I think it was like some Netflix. No, it was a YouTube video, and it was this kid that had shot up a school in Washington, and this was like a long time ago. Like around Columbine, I think, or something like that. But this kid was like talking about how it came to be that he thought that, and like how he had been bullied every day, and like it was constant and nonstop, and that finally he just decided that it was enough, and like instead of getting to the point where most people get and they get suicidal and they decide they want to end it all, like he was just angry. And I guess that's the key difference. Because he was saying that he remembered that he had stole a shotgun out of his dad's gun closet, I think, and some shells and stuff, and he ended up going there and going to the school and talking about how he was kind of regretting it, and then all of a sudden you just saw the person, like this person walk down in the hallway that bullied him the most, and just fucking mowed him down. And like, it's just weird. Like, I never really thought people would get that angry, or like that would be the thing that they go to, but nowadays it's just like, it's just so normal. Like, I guess back in medieval times it was nothing that you picked up like a sword or a dagger or something and you like cut somebody down, and I guess nowadays it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, I guess that could be, you fuck with somebody long enough, you'll break them. I mean, you just will. You'll, especially people who are weak.
Yeah.
I mean, just, not physically, but mentally already have some issues. You'll break a person. Mm-hmm. And when you break somebody, I mean, crazy people are crazy. You never know what they're going to do. And that's why when somebody's reported to the police for years and years and years saying, this guy's nuts, he's going to fucking do something, the government's got to take action. And that, I'm usually a government should leave people the fuck alone kind of guy, but when you've got kids calling you from school saying, this guy's going to kill somebody, that needs to be looked into. It's not something you can blow off because, we don't want our high school kids going to jail. 17 fucking kids are dead now because of that, yeah. And it's horseshit. And it pisses me off that sheriff is still there. And that's what pisses me off so much about David Hogg and Emma Gonzalez is they immediately blame the NRA and said nothing about the sheriff that they called 27 fucking times. And David Hogg's dad, ex-FBI guy. And this kid's even been reported to the FBI twice. And you couldn't turn around and say, hey, Dad, is that fucking normal?
Right, yeah.
That a guy gets reported twice that he's going to shoot a place up and Dad's in the kitchen making a sandwich, drinking a beer, going, no. That's kind of fucked up, actually. But no, it's the NRA's fault.
Yeah.
It's like, and I hate to throw this statistic out because eventually an NRA member is going to have enough and fucking cap some fuckers. An NRA member, I don't think has ever, been involved in a mass shooting. Ever.
I don't think so, honestly.
Not that I know of.
It's been more recent that stuff like that has happened.
Yeah.
Besides the Texas sniper a long time ago in the 50s or 60s or something like that. But
the original school shooting, I think it was in the late 60s.
Yeah, but it's been more recent that stuff like this come out. And most of them have either been, say with the first one that I can remember, I remember from whenever I was young, besides Columbine, I think I don't remember that one. I just remember them talking about an anniversary or something. But I actually remember actively happening and the media covering it was the Washington sniper.
Yeah,
I remember that one, but I think he was even ex-military, but he was Muslim or something like that. He had been
some weird shit. That's been a long time ago. I need to
back
refresh
to
my memory on that.
Yeah, back to the whole breaking people thing. I was watching this one video the other day, and it was talking about, it was this guy that had actually been in an Egyptian prison because he was part of this Muslim group that was about, he wasn't about the whole jihad, but he was about bringing down the government and replacing it with his own, but in non-peaceful or non-violent ways.
Right. Well, I mean, they're doing that already.
Yeah, right. And he was talking about how, like, he'd been to this prison because he was over there for school. And, like, there was these people there that, like, they just tortured so much and they broke them, and they went on to be, like, ISIS or Al-Qaeda and stuff like that. And, like, that kind of comes back to the same thing. Like, it's on a lesser scale, I guess, but, like, you're torturing somebody to the point where they can literally kill somebody.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't think about your actions for, like, 2 seconds. Like, that takes a lot. A whole lot.
It's a personal responsibility thing, too, because, you have to accept some blame for that.
Yes.
And, no one is responsible for what happened at Parkland except Nicholas Cruz, and maybe the Broward County Sheriff's Office and the FBI. They can shoulder a little of the burden. I mean, the sheriff's not going to do it because he's a Democrat and, fuck the NRA and guns. But if he had arrested that kid, I'm getting off track for a second, but the school resource officer, that pussy that wouldn't run in there and set up a quote-unquote perimeter while kids were getting shot up, he even recommended that Nicholas Cruz be institutionalized. Yeah. If that had happened, guess what? Nicholas Cruz wouldn't have been able to buy that AR-15.
Yeah, never would have happened.
So even that asshole had it right. And I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're a SRO and kids are getting shot, there's no reason you should not be in there engaging that shooter unless you've already taken a couple of bullets. And even at that point, if you can still walk, if you've got lead in you and you can still walk, you better be in there slinging lead at that guy because that's your job. Yeah, that's why you're there.
It's not even a doubt in my mind.
If I can wing that guy and maybe have him kill 2 less kids, mission accomplished, But
I think even if I was a teacher, that would be kind of my mentality about the whole thing, like, because that's just your children, like, they look up to you, like, they depend on you for stuff like that.
Everybody now, and I don't get it, is run and hide. I'm not going to be that dude hiding under a desk while you shoot up the building. I'm not going to be laying on the ground begging you for my life.
I will sneak up behind you and fuck you up sometime.
If I haven't already shot you, I'm going to be reloading.
Right?
And if I run out of ammo, I'm going to wing the gun at you.
Beat you to death with a damn shotgun.
I'm going to hide behind a corner till you turn around, and then I'm going to get you.
Like fucking beat him to death with a 45 or something.
Yeah, one of those, like the old school 1911 all metal. And now I do feel, though, you've got some guys that carry guns and they don't carry around in the chamber. You're carrying a hammer at that point in time.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to get it out. And, like,
you ain't got time for that shit. Come on.
At this point, like at some point, it's just got to be ready. Like,
if you're carrying a gun, there's no reason why you don't have it ready because that's the whole point. It's there. Otherwise, leave it at home. If it's not ready, condition 1 or nothing. That's cocked and locked, by the way, because you don't know.
I just thank you for explaining that for us liberals out there, or leftists, whatever you want to say. But
the weak.
I just feel like people are looking at it this weird way because it's capable of such like mass damage, I guess. But like, if they think about it, like back in the day, what weapons were considered normal, like nowadays people consider guns normal that they carry or anything like that. Like, it was considered like dumb of you to go out without your weapon. Like if you had a sword or something like that, it was dumb of you to go out without that because I mean, fuck, that's your life that you're risking right there. And I mean, I guess there's a difference, like, if you're just going, like, around here, like, if you're going out to, like, some little mom and pop store or something like that. Like, I really don't see the need for you to, like, open carry your gun out around here because what really goes on around here. But, like, I could see you taking it, like, if I had one and I was going to, like, a big city or something like Chattanooga or Huntsville, and I would take it there because, I mean, obviously there's been shootings. There was a shooting, like, last month at Huntsville, I think. So, I mean, like, that would make sense, but I just don't get it. Like, I just don't get how people don't see it as, like, a way of protecting yourself. Like, they just want to take it away.
That's essentially what it is. I mean, and I don't get open carry to begin with. We've talked about this before at work, and I don't understand. I don't want. Yeah, exactly. I don't want anybody to know I have a gun because if I'm going into a gas station to rob a gas station and there's a guy there open carrying, he's going to be the first damn one I shoot. And the first, I'm not even going to say, give me the money. I'm just going to pop him right in the melon. And then I'm going to say, give me the money. So I'd rather the guy robbing the gas station not have any fucking idea that I've got a gun. And then when he turns the other way, I'm going to shoot him in the back of the fucking head.
Like, no, so fucking nobody's going to question you for that. You just off some guy.
And you always see these guys open carrying, and they're always the assholes that wear like, tap out shirts and they got like fucking the military belts on, and they got like usually it's like a damn Colt single action army or something on their hip, open carry.
So heavy, it's hanging
and it's like trench coats. These guys. Combat boots, walking around in most uncomfortable fucking thing, at least the old ones, the most uncomfortable things ever fucking made. And this guy's walking down the street in combat boots. It's like, what, Nikes just ain't good enough? Right, you like your feet hurting at the end of the day. Newer ones may be better. I don't know. I haven't worn any in like 20 years because they suck that fucking much. So.
Those are the damn Chads.
Yeah.
Those are Chads. Yeah. You see them, you're instantly like, fucking Chad. It's always like I've always. You
just want to walk up to him and take the gun out of the holster and smack him in the mouth with it. It's like, put that shit up. It's no good if they know you have it.
Like there was speaking of people who open carry, there's this like little ass guy. Like this guy was like
those motherfuckers
or something. Yeah. And this dude probably had a 45 on his hip, like not even a subcompact or anything.
Like a 1911 full size.
It might have been a 1911 actually.
Gun weighs 3.5 pounds, carries 8 rounds.
Fucking God. Like he had a shirt over it, and it was like bigger than his thigh. I'm like, good God.
Guy's walking around with like a 454 hand cannon, something you would literally shoot a bear with, and that's what he's open carrying. He's going to get one shot off, probably miss, smack himself in the face with the gun because he's limp wristing it because he's a candy ass. And then the guy robbing the gas station with the, $75 Glock 9mm he bought out of somebody's trunk is going to shoot him 9 times before he even has a chance to line up a shot again. That fucking asshole.
It's like, fuck you, fuck that wall, fuck those 3 cars outside. Ooh.
Or if he does actually hit the guy, it goes through that guy and kills the cashier behind him. Because for some reason, this guy's carrying a fucking bear gun around on his hip. Those guys.
It looked about like it, honestly. Like, I was very surprised. I was like, why do you even open carry? Like...
I'll never get it. I never will understand it. I mean, the whole point in having a gun is defending yourself. And how are you defending yourself if everybody knows you have a gun?
Yeah, it's like, I'm the first one. Please, like, pick me.
Shoot me first.
Yeah, I just want to go first, honestly. I welcome the sweet release.
And then now, guess what? The guy robbing the gas station has got 2 guns.
Yeah, 2 guns.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you. Shitheads.
Goddamn Val Kilmer, what are you doing robbing a gas station? What the fuck?
Last game of cards didn't go so well, I guess.
Right. He ain't been in any movies in a long time. I guess that's the reason why.
Oh, have you seen him lately?
No, yeah, actually, I did. Yeah. Father
Time got that ass. Like, come here, pretty boy. Let me show you something.
It's probably the TV. That's what got him in the movie. Got him in real life. Oh man. So Emma Gonzalez thinks that the best solution is to just take everything away. And she said that in her last tweet after it was, I think, the day after the Tennessee shooting happened. She said something about they should just take away all semi-automatics and whatever, assault rifles and semi-automatic weapons. And then she said something about gun control after that. I was like, you probably should have
something about what?
Gun control.
Oh, yeah. I was
like, you should have said something about gun control.
Yeah, we're going to do that after we try to take all the guns because... See, this is the thing that kills me about gun control is they don't want gun control. Because the people who take our guns are going to have guns.
Yeah.
So they hate Donald Trump. They hate his fucking guts. which, I mean, I'm not completely against him, but I'm not a fan of the guy, really, but they hate his guts, but they want him to be in control of all the guys who have guns.
Yeah.
He's their boss. He says, hey, go clear out Miami. Guess what? Fucking, you got Marines landing on a beach, even though it's unconstitutional, blah, blah, blah. So is taking our fucking guns. So, it doesn't really matter. They only want the government to have guns, and that seems so ass backwards to me.
No, I mean, the last time that I think anything like that happened, and I hate to
Hello,
be the guy,
Germany?
I hate to be the guy that brings it up because everybody compares him to Hitler, but like...
Fucking Hitler. He took all the guns.
They're literally trying to push that thing down.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it wasn't...
It's the first thing he did is disarm the populace because... What are they going to do? I'm going to come in here and kill all the fucking Jews, and what are they going to do? Throw rocks at me? We got fucking machine guns. Throw a rock, bitch, please.
Complain. I've got a tank.
Please complain. I'm begging you. It's like, I don't guess they teach history anymore. I know they don't do civics, really, but apparently they've fucking forgotten about World War II.
Or maybe they do. I don't know. I just feel like nowadays, like, I don't feel like that mentality or that like way of that solution is the way everybody thinks. Mm-hmm. Like at least on say the left side or the liberal side or whatever. I don't think that's the way everybody thinks, but that's the way that's getting the most attention.
Yeah.
Because it's the most radical way.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's just extremes. Like if you're not extreme, fuck it, we don't care.
Yeah.
Like that was obvious in the presidential election. Like,
yes, it was.
Nowadays, like if you're not causing some sort of drama, we don't give a fuck about you. Get the hell out.
Yeah, it's like this weird desire just to constantly stir shit up.
It's just fucking drama nowadays. Like everything is so open. It's like, well, we had drama on TV. We might as well have drama in real life.
I blame the Kardashians.
Honestly,
I do.
I feel like people don't give them enough credit. Like, I feel like they're fucking smart.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kim Kardashian a couple of years ago made like $50 million off her fucking phone game. Yeah. And this is a girl who the only thing she's ever done in her life is take dick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically it. And she's made $50 million off a game on her. And that's not even counting the TV show and all the other bullshit she's got. She's got more money than I will ever see. So, fuck yeah. I mean, she's smart as shit. All of them.
I haven't done like any research, but like I mean, her mom had to be fucking a genius, like a business mogul, to even get that empire started. Like get to where it's at now.
How did that conversation go? Hey Kim, you remember that time you fucked Ray J?
Yeah,
you got that video, right? Give me that. Let me see that for a minute.
It's like fucking crazy.
Because it's like after Paris Hilton's sex tape. Because I'm fucking old enough to remember this shit. Because Paris, whatever. Another one that's used to be famous for doing nothing, less so now. But I mean, she was the one and that's why Kim Kardashian's famous, because she was Paris Hilton's friend. And then I guess Paris's sex tape got released, and I'm like, holy shit, the guy that released Paris's sex tape made like $40 million off that fucking thing. Didn't you fuck Ray J? Didn't y'all give me that? Come on. And fucking TV shows and goddamn just clothing lines and perfume and makeup and fucking $50 million phone games. It's insane. It's a fucking weird world we live in, that's for sure. But I can't blame her. Make the fucking money.
That's true.
Make it.
I mean, honestly,
make the money.
I can't really blame, like, say, Donald Trump either for running for president. Like, I mean, to be on the same page.
Fucking won.
I mean, it's
so,
like, it's there. You might as well.
Yeah.
And the man's, like, as much as I don't like him, and I feel like he's a man-child, and I feel like...
Oh, he's 100% a man-child.
Everybody's going to be upset when they hear that. I know a bunch of people who are supportive and everything, but, like, the guy's a fucking genius. Like, I was listening, this is actually the first presidential campaign that I actually kept up with. I was actually old enough that I cared enough to keep up with, which is another opinion that I have, or whatever. But, like, I actually cared enough to keep up with, and I was just sitting there listening to it, and I'm just like, this guy's fucking smart. Like, I actually know what buzzwords are, and I actually hear him use them. Like, you mentioned Ronald Reagan and shit like that. Like, he would mention, like, all these words that these conservatives or these Republicans like to hear. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, you know it. He knows what he's doing because he's a businessman.
Yeah. I mean, crazy like a fox. He knew exactly, like you said, he knew exactly what to say to piss off conservatives because, the country, they're not teaching the Bibles in school no more. They're not teaching our young'uns about Jesus.
All the damn Muslims coming over here.
Fucking
all the
Obama's
illegals.
letting all of them in. They're going to come in here. They're going to bomb us. They're going to bomb us. Taking all illegals coming over here. My buddy, he owns a yard mowing service, and he got put out of business because this damn Mexican, he's paying his people $2 an hour, and they put him out of business. He knew every button to push, every one of them, and still voter turnout was low, and he still won the election. And he didn't win the popular. It doesn't fucking matter. He won the goddamn election. Yeah. And now California's talking about, we're going to secede. Well, you Democrats can kiss those fucking 55 electoral votes gone. Right, when they do, if California secedes, there will never be another Democratic president. Never. Because California always goes Democrat. 100% of the time they go Democrat. And that's 55 electoral votes that they will never have again.
I mean, that will make a difference.
So that's why the Republicans are like, fucking please, secede.
I don't feel like it's going to happen just for the simple fact that, that's a lot of tax money. So I don't feel like
if they left, they would be the 7th largest economy in the world. And you'd have to look at how much money the federal government has invested in California just in fucking interstates. Yeah, so I don't think they're going to no. They're not going to let them just go, but I mean, honestly, it would probably benefit them in the long run if they did, the Republicans at least, because, there goes 55 guaranteed Democratic electoral votes every time.
I mean, I just don't know if I'm 100% on the board of letting them leave. Like, I mean, I don't know, or even like having a Republican president, honestly. Like, if this is how it's going to be every time. Like, because there was some really, really strong candidates.
Yeah.
But they just couldn't get past Rubio, Cruz, and Trump. Like, they just could not get past them. And that fucking killed me.
And, even on the I think, honestly, if Hillary and the DNC hadn't fucked Bernie,
right?
I think Bernie would have had a chance.
Oh.
Because I would have been torn. I usually vote Republican just for the simple fact of gun control, even though I disagree with a ton of shit that Republicans say, like abortion. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. Teaching the Bible in schools, I'd rather you not. If you want to learn the Bible, go to church. Yeah. I want reading, writing, arithmetic.
Yeah, right.
In school.
By God, that's
it. If you want your kid to know Jesus, teach them at home and in church. I don't want to pay. And that's another thing. I'm going off on tangents now, but that's another thing that pisses me off. People say, well, they don't teach religion in schools anymore. Well, you don't want them to teach religion. You want them to teach Christianity.
Yeah, just in particular.
Just want them to teach but we are, whether you like it or not, we're a nation of immigrants. So how the fuck you going to make a Jewish kid sit there and learn about Christianity? Or a Muslim kid sit there or an atheist kid sit there and learn about Christianity? Yeah. Who gives a shit about Christianity? Let go.
I believe it's like the youngest major religion.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, besides Scientology, I guess, since it can be considered up there.
Please don't get me started on fucking Scientology. Yeah. We'll be here till like 9:30 tomorrow morning, and then I'll have some Scientologists on my doorstep, and I'll have to fucking shoot them.
Yeah, right.
Because welcome to Alabama, motherfuckers. This ain't Florida. I will kill you in my house. And then I will use your bodies for fertilizer.
I don't know, like, I guess this kind of brings up to another point that I was thinking of is, like, say, for instance, this year or last year, I forgot when it was, I think it is this year, but like a record number of women are running for Congress. A record number. And that's, like I was saying the other day, it's like not every woman's going to be Democratic, obviously. Yeah. Like, not the label. But, like, just for that change alone, and just for everything that's happened, like Trump losing so much popularity after he, like, 6 months of him being in office, I think it got cut to, like, 20% or something like that. Like a ridiculous number. I don't think he's getting another 4 years, Now, whether that means another Democratic president is going to get elected or not, I'm not too sure. I think it's possible, and it might not happen in 5 years, or it might not happen in this election or the next election, but like 20 years down the road, when everything has changed, I do think it's entirely possible that the gun control, like taking all the guns away, is a thing. Like, if this whole extremist idea of things continues,
yeah.
Like, it's just like outrageous. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna rule everything. Like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm gonna rule it.
I mean, anything is possible. You know, the founding fathers knew that eventually a bunch of fascists would try to take our guns away. That's why they made it really difficult to change the Bill of Rights. And, you know, just with the steps you got to go through with Congress and getting the amount of states to ratify it. And then what a lot of people don't really consider, like Emma Gonzalez, when they show up to take the guns, is the fucking Civil War that you're talking about.
And there will undoubtedly be.
Absolutely. And they think that we're just going to roll over and be like, okay, here you go, take my guns. I'm not a citizen anymore. I'm a subject. Can I go now? No.
Well, I mean,
it's not gonna play out like that. And it probably won't be every gun owner. A lot of them will just hand over their guns. But you're going to have maybe a couple, 3 million fucking get-her-dones, you know, that ain't having it. Ain't having it.
It'll be a repeat of the Civil War. Like, I mean, like, almost all the states.
Because think about every veteran you've ever met in your life. Every guy who served in the military. How many of them were Democrats?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Not many of them.
No.
Not many of them at all.
No. So you're going to have a lot of guys in the military being like, this is fucking bullshit. We're going to come in here in the army and get shot at and blown up, and then when we go home, we can't even have a gun to keep our families? Fuck this. Next thing you know, you got a fucking coup.
I do feel like that is different, honestly. Like, thinking about it, like, now that I actually think about it, like, the difference between, say, if another Civil War does get started when they try to take guns away, and say the last one is like the last Civil War was actually dealing with humanity. Like, this is like a moral issue, like something bad's happening. But this time it's like they're actually trying to take rights away. Right. This is just our family. Yeah. There's not anything moral going on. It's just the government's trying to take away
our ability to defend ourselves because, like I've always said, the thing about gun control is Billy Bob the crackhead does not give a shit if his gun's illegal or not. It doesn't fucking matter to him when he's going to come in your house and take your shit and rape your old lady. He doesn't give a fuck if his gun's legal. Nope. Doesn't matter.
Probably filed off the serial number.
Yeah, honestly. The only people it's going to hurt are the law-abiding people that would hand over their guns willingly. That's who it's going to fuck, because then now Billy Bob's climbing in through your window. What you got, a baseball bat? Well, he's got a fucking 357. You lose. Instantly. Yeah. So, you know, it's just not something that's ever going to... Guns in America are a fact of life. There are things we could do differently. I'm okay with making background checks stricter. I'm also okay with holding motherfuckers accountable that don't add shit to the NCIC like they should. I'm perfectly fine with that. Raising the age to buy a rifle isn't going to fix anything, because 90% of all crimes committed with a gun are a handgun, and you've already got to be 21 to buy a handgun. There were 4 times as many people in 2016 killed with a knife as they were with any rifle. Or knife, or a cutting instrument, I think is the exact word. So think about that. If they banned AR-15s tomorrow, according to the most recent statistics that we have, it would save about 380 lives a year. Out of 36,000 people that die by some way with a gun. Being suicides, cops shooting people, you know, all that. Yeah, it's nothing. And that's why people, you shouldn't be allowed to have assault rifles. Well, why? Give me one really good reason why. Well, because it can kill a lot of people. Well, so the fuck can Tannerite, and I can go buy it. You know, I can kill a lot of people with anything. There was a guy in China today killed 7 people in a school with a fucking knife. Killed 7 and wounded 12 with a knife. You gonna ban knives? England?
Like, that was another thing I was talking about with my wife, and she's like, obviously, the knife is going to go up. Like, obviously, that's going to go up because it's the only thing that's available.
Well, if you ban guns, that's the easiest thing to kill somebody.
But she brought up the point is, like, was it equal in correlation to the amount of gun crimes that was going on before, or was it less? Like, it's just, she's like, it's just one of the, she doesn't feel, I don't know her exact opinions, but I don't think she feels that taking away all the guns is the solution. But she does bring up a good point is, like, I mean, no matter what you have to do, people are going to lose their lives. We're tiny, insignificant things. We can die under a microscope, so it's not like it really matters.
Yeah.
But, like, if it's less than what guns... Like,
kill now.
Yeah, if it's less now, like if you ban guns and you, like, knife crimes, if the knife crimes are less than what the gun crimes were, you could technically justify it.
Not really. I mean, people are going to find... If you take guns away, we're going to find a way to kill people. It may not be with a knife. It may be with a brick. Granted, I may not be able to kill you from across the room. I may not be able to go into a school and kill 17 people, but I might get 6 or 7 or 8. And to justify disarming the populace, because now I'm defending my house with a rock or a knife. And again, Billy Bob the Crackhead don't give a fuck if his gun's legal or not. So when you ban guns, they don't just vanish. They don't just go away. There's, over 100 million guns in this country that we know of. Legal owned weapons that we're aware of. So how many are out there that we don't know of?
Probably like 5 times that.
Easily. And when the gun ban does pass, if it ever does, you can bet Joey's going to be on the lake and have a horrible boating accident, and all his guns are going to fall in the water, and I don't know where the fuck they went.
What the fuck happened to them?
It's the strangest fucking thing ever. Just come in here and they were gone. I thought you guys took them. I don't know where they're at.
I don't know. I feel like another thing people aren't considering really is the fact that, like, even if they do take away all the guns, like, the U.S. is an empire. Like, the people who, like, profit the most every year are these defense contractors, like people who make the guns and stuff like that.
Halliburton.
They're going to keep making guns regardless if people can have them or not, because, I mean, armies still need them. Like, they'll just keep selling them, and there's going to be some dude who wants to make extra money and who can, like, make fucking $60 billion.
I swear, there are probably enough Kalashnikovs out there that you could give one to everybody on the planet.
Yeah,
I mean, literally, they're just made out of, like, pig iron and shit parts, and they just fucking work. And you could, like, literally dump them in mud and sand and pick them up and kill a guy with them. And that's one thing I've never understood. Everybody's all batshit about ARs. I like AKs better, except the ergonomics are better on an AR.
That's it. That's the only thing that makes the difference.
Everything else about an AK is better. They just work better.
Yeah.
So that, and they're cheap to make. That's why they're fucking everywhere. They're everywhere.
Everywhere. Like, I fucking knew people that didn't even they couldn't even fucking get their car to run for a week straight, and they had a damn AK with, like, a fucking drum mag on it.
Yeah, I got a buddy who's got 2 of them. He's got 2 of them sitting in his closet. I've been begging him to fucking sell me one. He just won't do it. This fucking cocksucker. Goes up and buys a $1,300 shotgun because he liked it in a video game. But, whatever. Yeah, I guess.
Just wish I had that much
money. You do you, guy. Yeah, right, I'd rather buy 2 ARs and, knife for the same amount of money. And they're decent ARs, not even the shitty, $300 ones that jam after 20 shots.
I don't know, like, this whole topic is just so... It's just so trigger-worthy. Like, like, nobody's willing to have, like, sit down and have a decent conversation with it. And, like, I don't remember if I said anything to you about this, but I was watching this Joe Rogan podcast, and Ben Shapiro was on there. And he's a whole nother issue for me. But he actually said something that made a whole lot of sense, and he said that there's, like, he puts like there's a difference to him between people who are leftists and people who are liberals. And he feels like people that are liberals are the people that are the problem. Like they're the extreme version of, say, Trump or like all these other extremist right-wing people, like conservatives or whatever. And he feels like they're the ones that are the real problems. And I do feel like that's kind of the case because, I mean, I consider myself a leftist. Like, I'm not, like, I can't see anything that I agree with the Republicans on, except for maybe gun control, but I feel like even my views on that are still more leftist than they are conservative. Because I do feel like with you, like, they should be, you know, stricter background checks, like they should have a hold period. You shouldn't be able to get your gun until they get the background check back. Like, I don't care if there's like a 3-day wait period like,
to get the background check
back. You
back.
don't get your background check back in time. Here's your gun, and then they find out, oh, this guy's fucking beat his wife before, and they're like, oh well, shit, we just sold him a gun. Like, I don't feel like that should be the case. And I do feel like you said, people should be held more accountable to it. And actually, that brings up a good point. I actually saw something on, I don't remember where it was. I think it was this news article I was reading, I think. And, like, the sheriff of Broward County, he's actually getting a vote of no confidence from his deputies.
Yeah, I saw that today,
I was like, Jesus, it's about time somebody does something. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, I think of, what was it, one of the deputies that didn't set up just set up a perimeter? He didn't go in there?
Yeah. The school resource officer was a deputy of the Broward County Sheriff's Office. And the first thing this guy did, you know, he went right along with the other Democrats, Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg, and blaming the NRA and saying, oh, God, it's terrible. And it's like I was telling you before, if this shooting had happened in Pinellas County, where... or Polk County, I'm sorry, we're fucking Grady Judd is the sheriff. You better damn well believe that SRO would have been in that school, probably with a fucking buck knife between his teeth, and took that kid down.
So why'd you shoot him 578 times?
Because that's all the bullets we had. That right there is what you want for a sheriff, not some fucking wannabe politician, candy ass. You know, your law enforcement, your job is to save people's lives, to protect and serve. Maybe not so much serve now, unless it's a warrant, but, you know, you're damn sure supposed to protect people. You're not supposed to shoot a guy in the back 18 times when he's running away from you because he's got a fucking parking ticket. You're supposed to fucking protect people and not set up a perimeter. Firefighters, when they go to a house that's on fire and there's people inside of it, they don't set up a fucking perimeter. They go in and they get them.
They don't look at it and they're like, that building's on fire. I probably shouldn't go in there.
Yeah.
No, they just fucking jump in
There's
there.
9 kids in there. Well, let's spray it with a fucking hose. We got to get the fire down a little more before it's safe for us to go in. You fucking go in.
They fucking go in. Balls ablazing.
And you better know, if my kid was at that school and had gotten killed and I find out that asshole's outside setting up a perimeter, there's not a hole in the world deep enough for that son of a bitch to hide in that I'm not going to find him.
No. And I don't get how...
And I'm going to show him parts of his body he's never seen before.
I don't get how people can be so, like, nonchalant about it. Like, I get it, like, it was this guy. But, like, you don't even have to dig that much to get the facts. Like, you don't have to dig that much to see what happened. Like, to see that this kid had been called, like, 27 times they'd called this guy about this guy. Or, like, the SRO had actually had a problem with it. Like, if I was the SRO and I had a problem with it, that kid wouldn't have been in school anymore. Like,
I would have found him outside of school and just, like, busted him up.
Like, it's just ridiculous to me. And, like, you have these people, like, say, David Hogg's mom, or, like, I don't know Emma Gonzalez's parents, but, like, they're so, like, nonchalant about it. Like, they're just, like, it was, you know, the gun's fault. And I guess the NRA is the easy target because, I mean, you know, rifle, it's in their name. I mean, it's the easy scapegoat to say because, you know, they support guns, but, like, that's just it. Like, that's all they think about. They support guns. Yeah. We hate them.
They don't want any laws or regulations, you know, on guns whatsoever. And that's not true. You know, the gun owners and the NRA have given a lot of ground that, to be honest with you, I'm not 100% necessarily sure we should have given, because it's a right to own a gun. It's not a privilege. It's a right.
Yeah.
So just modern times, you got to give a little. I don't want sociopaths carrying guns.
No.
But you remember a few years back, they come out with that thing where if you're on the no-fly list, you can't buy a gun.
Yes.
How do you get put on the no-fly list?
See, Dad.
By doing anything wrong at an airport, basically. There are people who are on the no-fly list that have never been on a fucking plane.
Yeah.
They've never flown anywhere, ever, and they're on the no-fly list. How do you get off the no-fly list?
You can't.
It's damn near impossible. So I remember Trey Gowdy, another man that just I love, like one of my man crushes, talking to the person who came up with this, or actually the person that whose office was responsible for this idea of no fly list, no gun, sent his like fucking secretary or some shit to the damn congressional hearing, and Trey Gowdy is just tearing this girl a new asshole. Because, Trey Gowdy's a former trial lawyer. That's what he does. Yeah. He's fucking amazing at it. And what other constitutional rights do you just take away from people on a daily basis because of whatever reason? And how do they go about getting them back? You can't just take somebody's... It's a constitutional right. But where the NRA gave a little is with the background check bill. That's an NRA bill. That was the NRA's idea, to put in, okay, if somebody is violent and they've been arrested and their name's in the NCIC, and you can instantly just type in their name and fucking social security number and get their criminal record on a screen in front of you, like that, don't give them a gun. We're fine with that. We're okay. Bump stocks. Okay, fine, sure. They're fine with that. Then all the bills they come out with bump stocks were so vaguely worded that the NRA's like, hold the fuck on a second. We can't just let you guys pass this, because it says anything that changes the rate of fire of a rifle. The rate changes the rate of fire from what? A semi-automatic rifle doesn't have a set rate of fire. Like a rate of fire for an M4 is 700 rounds a minute, I think, because that's as fast as the thing will fucking go. Semi-automatic rifles as fast as you can pull the trigger. So it changes the rate of fire from what? From 1 round a minute? From 2? From 5? So they vaguely word these bills to try to get shit taken away from, and the NRA has to, wait, just hold the fuck on. Do it right, and we'll go with you. Because who the fuck gives a shit about a bump stock? Semi-automatic fire is way more accurate than fully anyway. You got a bump stock on your gun, you'll dump a mag in 4 fucking seconds, and then you got to reload. Yeah. I got a semi-auto rifle, I'm fucking popping heads for a good 10 or 15 seconds, and then I drop a mag and reload. So, it's just so much bullshit, and people just, as soon as it happened, the day, oh, well, it's the NRA's fault, they've got blood on their hands. No, they fucking don't. They didn't do this shit.
No.
And David Hogg's standing there saying this shit, and he knows damn good and well that they've reported this kid to the sheriff's office. And it's like they just don't care because the sheriff's a Democrat, because Democrats want nobody to have guns for some reason, because a lot of younger people are democratic socialists and they want to bring in a little touch of communism in some ways. Maybe that's easier to do if we're unarmed. I don't fucking know, but it's just... It doesn't make any sense. Why every time there's a shooting, they blame the gun. That guy in Canada who ran over all those people a few days back, killed 10, 12 people.
I think it was
Nobody is calling Ryder out because they rented this guy a fucking truck.
No.
Nobody.
They didn't say anything.
And that's just another point that proves that people are going to find a way to kill each other.
Yeah, no matter what, they'll find a way, yeah.
If I gotta pick up, again, a rock and smack you in the fucking head with it, it's gonna do the job.
It's gonna hurt, yeah. I
gotta sharpen a stick. How many people could you kill in the school with a fucking spear before somebody takes you down? Or the arm off a fucking paper cutter. You remember those things?
The big old...
Yeah.
Butcher-looking things.
Yeah, take that blade off there. How many people are you gonna smack in the head with that before somebody takes you down?
I don't know why people, I've thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. It's just like, I can't really think of why it is people blame the guns. Like, I guess because they could be scary looking. Like, the AR is an easy target because, it looks tactical. Just the way it is. Like, it looks like something the military should be the only ones that have. And it makes sense why people would target it. And I guess that kind of leaks from that into everything. Like, these are things that with one, like, in the millisecond, it's just nothing to pull a trigger.
Yeah.
You could, like, take somebody's life just like that. And I don't think people really realize that a lot of things are like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think instead of looking at it in that way, maybe we should look at it as in, like, a rights. Like, it's your right to have that. And they're going to take it away. And, like she said, I think you said it was something that Emma Gonzalez had said or something like that. She'd said, if you give us an inch, we'll take a mile.
That was one of the other Parkland kids, not Hogg or Gonzalez, but some blonde chick. I don't remember her name.
And that makes a lot of sense. Like, people would think like that. Like, it makes sense. You give us an inch, we'll take more. We'll take more. We'll keep taking it until we can take it.
It's like I said before Parkland, I made a post about it, but it's I think it was after the Texas shooting. Which, by the way, was stopped by an NRA guy with an AR-15.
Yeah, I remember that,
Just to put that out there.
Yeah.
3-gun instructor, actually, guy's a certified badass. But you can't have AR-15s because they're too dangerous. Nobody needs 30 rounds to protect their family or whatever. And the next thing you know, oh my God, have you seen the damage that a shotgun will do to somebody at close range? Nobody needs that to protect their family. And the next thing you know, what? You don't need a semi-automatic pistol with a 15-round magazine, even though 9mm are like the size of a fucking tic-tac. And I've literally read stories about cops shooting people with 9mm 15 fucking times and getting stabbed to death. So, you be the judge. You don't need that to protect your house. No more fucking semi-automatic guns. The next thing you know, you don't need a bolt-action rifle to hunt deer. You can do that with, a fucking slingshot and some string. So they take that away, and it just builds on. Nobody needs a 22 long rifle. You shoot somebody in the head with a 22 long rifle, it just ricochets for, 45 fucking minutes, and then they fall over dead. So they take that, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And then when the guns are gone, what's to stop them from saying, well, free speech is bullshit. You don't have any right to fucking criticize the government, so we're taking that shit away too. And your opinion is different than ours? Well, here comes a fucking JSOC squad into your house to fucking take you the fuck out of here. How you gonna stop them? You ain't got a gun, you ain't even got a knife anymore, because they done took that shit too. You're sitting there eating your fucking TV dinner that you just radiated in a microwave with plastic fucking cutlery, and a bunch of guys come through the window with 12 gauges and AR-15s and M4s and fucking Desert Eagles. What the fuck are you gonna do? Nothing. There's not shit you can do. And it's just like a snowball effect. Probably not gonna happen, but it could. When you start giving away guaranteed rights under the Bill of Rights, what's next? The First Amendment? The 14th? The 4th? Which one's going to be next?
I do feel like it'll probably get to that point, honestly. Like, it's not, I don't even think it's that out of reach. Like, I don't even think it's that far-fetched to think something like that would happen.
If they ever got past the Second Amendment, because the American gun owners are the largest standing army that has ever existed. There's 100 million that we know of. So, that's gun owners, by the way, that we know of. So, basically, who the fuck is going to fight 100 million people? Granted, we don't have Tomahawk cruise missiles and tanks, but we got Tannerite and fucking gumption. So,
Goddamn cave down the road.
And there's 100 million of us. That's more than every army on the planet combined.
I do feel like if things continue, like, it's probably good that there's people, like, in, I guess, these rural areas of America that, like, kind of think like that. Like, they kind of think that it's, like, guns are good. Like, people who have guns, they're good.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like, say, whenever I get into my, like, 30s or 40s or something like that, like, things will change. Like, people will, I don't know, like, I do feel like more and more, like, that ideology is going to spread from, like, those liberal places. Like, they're going to start spreading out and trying to, like, seep into the little rural areas, and it's going to happen. Like, you saw it happen in the 20s or so. like flappers were something that had managed to go from the city, and then all of a sudden it was just everywhere, and like people were thinking like, oh, these women are whores, like they're dressing like whores and blah blah blah. And like I think it probably will be the same way. I think it'd be something that takes longer to do because it's something that's more, I guess, patriotic. It's something more deep. It's deeper than that, than just something cultural, some looks. It's like this is actual something. Like if they take this away, if they could take away more, like they could take away my right to free speech, or they could take my freedom of press, like anything like that. Like I do feel like it's possible. I mean, especially nowadays since everything's so extreme, and I do feel like people love it, so it's probably going to continue because fuck it, everybody likes reality shows. We might as well keep it going.
I guess. Well, I mean, the Second Amendment was put there exactly for that reason. Everybody seems to forget that our country was founded by a bunch of rebels that had enough of England's bullshit and, charging us which is funny, 3.5% tax on tea, and they went to fucking war over it, basically. Yeah. And now we're paying, 40% in tax? Yeah, just please take my money. The thing with England then, and a lot of the reasons why this country was founded was religious freedoms, because whenever you would bring in a new English king, he would up and decide that he wanted to change the religion, and everybody had to change with him. Henry VIII started the Church of England.
Yeah, because he wanted
to get a divorce from his wife. Yeah. And anyone who didn't sign to say that they agreed with Henry and that the church was, yay, it's the best, they got their fucking head cut off. Yeah. And just shit like that happening is why our country was founded. And it was founded by a bunch of fucking get-her-dones with their rifles and their wooden teeth. And yeah, they owned slaves, and they probably wasn't right about that, but shit changed. So, and they started this country, and they took the exact same military technology that the fucking British had, and they fought them right there, tooth and nail, and that's why we're here. And now you got people that say, oh, well, you shouldn't be allowed to have guns. We were put here for a reason. If the government ever goes rogue, it's not about home defense. It's not about hunting deer. It's not in case the fucking moose rise up against us. It's in case the government ever just gets so out of control that we have a chance to take this country back and put shit right. And that's why it's there.
I do understand it, but I just feel like nowadays that's something that's kind of, I wouldn't say outlandish, but I do feel like it's something that's kind of outdated. Like now, back in the day, like when they came up with it, it probably seemed like a really good idea because, it's happening. It literally just happened. It's happening in France. Like, I feel like nowadays guns probably wouldn't do much because technology's advanced so far. I feel like that would probably more happen along the lines of...
All it takes is one bullet.
I mean, I guess that's true,
but again, like we talked about before, how many people in the military, like I said, the government's got cruise missiles and tanks, and how many people in the military are Republicans, and how many of them would stand there and be like, this shit's fucked up. We're not going to bomb American civilians. If they're marching on Washington trying to overthrow the president, there must be a fucking reason for that. Granted, not all of them, but that's why it's a good damn thing there's 100 million gun owners in this country, because we ain't got 100 fucking million people in the military. And I don't care how many, fucking look at Afghanistan, how long they've kept us tied up in that shitstorm over there with guerrilla warfare.
That's very true.
16 fucking years. There's only, what's the population of Afghanistan, like 35 million?
It's not a lot.
We've got 3 times that many gun owners. In this country, 3 fucking times. If you armed every man, woman, and child in Afghanistan, we still outnumber them 3-1. And that's not counting the people that are in the military. That's right down the hall. The Secret Service guy that protects, fucking whoever the fuck the president is, then that says, you know what, this is bullshit. Just shoots him in his fucking face. Right there at the desk that Obama propped his feet up on, and Slick Willie got a blowjob on.
I don't know. Like, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen. I don't feel like anything's going to happen now.
It's there so we would have a chance. I'm not saying it's even possible that we could, because M1 Abrams could take out a lot of get-her-dones with fucking AR-15s.
Your damn 22's not doing shit against that.
Once you take the guns away, there's no chance ever, and that's when you become a subject. You're not a citizen anymore. You're going to do exactly what the government tells you, and there's not. You think protesting is going to stop them? We're going to have a march for life, and then you remember the guy in Tiananmen Square? How'd that work out for you, bud? Nope, not at all. No. So, and we got way fucking better tanks than the Chinese do. So
old outdated things.
Yeah. As long as we have weapons, there's a chance if shit went south, we could take it back. When that goes away, there's no chance. So we're at the will of our government. It's not by the people, for the people anymore. It's, you're going to do what we tell you to, or we're going to fucking smoke you.
I do feel like,
period.
I do feel like the argument for, like, if they take it away, like, you're just at their mercy. Like, that argument makes more sense to me than anything, because, I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
If they take that away, they take away everything. Like, it doesn't matter. They can
What's
take
to stop them?
they don't
a guy, this local sheriff shows up and, I like your house. It's mine now.
Yeah.
What the fuck you going to do?
You can't do anything about it.
You going to take him to court? I'm going to sue you. No, you're not.
Dead,
You're fucking dead. You're pushing up dirt. Now, that's why my flowers are so pretty, because I shot the last homeowner and buried his ass right there.
I don't know. Like, it's hard to say where everything's going to go, I guess, to say.
Yeah, my crystal ball ain't working. Otherwise, I'd hit lottery numbers, and it wouldn't fucking matter, because...
Yeah, you'd be rich and move somewhere by now.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess, to wrap everything up, it's hard to say for sure who's going to hold the seat next. Like, is it going to be Democrat? Is it going to be Republican? Because, I mean, that bill would have passed if it would have been a Democratic Congress. Like, if the Democrat would have...
What is it?
Held the House and the Senate.
5087, I think it was, that banned everything semi-automatic.
Like,
literally.
Every fucking gun.
And every semi-automatic weapon, and pretty much most double-action revolvers. Which is everything Glock makes, fucking Beretta. I mean, just every self-defense handgun, pretty much known to man.
If you don't have to pull the hammer back to shoot,
we're all going to be back to fucking Colt Peacemakers and
fucking
which
Kilmer's going to be walking around all alive and well now. So.
I mean, look, if they made it to where the only thing you could have is muzzleloaders. I mean, I could defend my home with a muzzleloader. There'd be no chance in hell you would ever take back the government. I might have 15 muzzleloaders primed and ready to go to defend my home. But, most muzzleloaders are 50 cal. So, I mean, they ain't got a lot of velocity. You can get sabot slugs for them that have rifling cut into them, so they can be pretty accurate. If we got to go the muzzleloader route, I'll throw some forks in a blunderbuss. It's fine with me.
Man, one of your walls is just filled with muzzle loaded.
Nope. I'd have 3 or 4 in every room. And then, the great thing about a muzzleloader, if you don't kill them with a shot, they make a very effective club.
Right. You just turn it around, that dude's out.
They're a good, 9-10 pounds, solid metal and wood.
I guess we'll have to prepare for that. We'll have to get some of those, in case they tried to take all the weapons away.
It's another great thing. They're cheap. Yeah. There's two moving parts, maybe 3.
Yeah.
But, it's just a hammer and a trigger and a big long metal tube. Pretty simple to make. I bet Dwayne could make one.
Probably. He probably could. We'll have to hit you up.
They ain't banned crossbows yet, I don't think so.
I don't know. It's hard to say exactly where everything's going to go. I just hope people are smart enough to actually do research about whenever it comes.
They're not.
It comes down to it. I mean, probably not. I do feel like nowadays a lot of the times people just take whatever comes and they don't decide to, shift through this information to see what's true and what's not true.
It's a condition of social media, because people surround themselves on social media with people who have the same opinions as them. You ever notice that?
Yeah. That does make sense.
There's not many Democratic people on my Facebook. There's a few, and I usually want to strangle them. But
as I can imagine with you.
And some of the Republicans, I'd like to strangle them too.
Yeah.
All they talk about is Jesus and abortion. That's another thing. Abortion pisses me off. Abortion was made illegal by a Republican-controlled Supreme Court.
Yeah, Roe versus Wade.
Yep.
It was
and right now, what do we have?
It's mostly Republican.
Yeah. It's a Republican-controlled Supreme Court. So for every Republican out there who wants to bitch about abortion, if they gave a shit about abortion, they could change it right now. They don't give a fuck about abortion.
The Republicans control everything.
Yes.
Like the House, the Senate.
It could be changed
president.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
If they gave a shit. They don't fucking care. Stop saying, I'll never vote for a Democrat because they want to fund Planned Parenthood. If they wanted to make abortion illegal, they could do it tomorrow.
Easily.
They're not gonna because they don't give a shit. And to be honest with you, we fucking need abortion because there's people in this country that ain't got no fucking sense having kids. None. Oh, well, they can put it up for adoption. Have you not read how many kids get put into adoption and get raped or fucking living under the stairs? There's a reference for you. It's just, remember that. It irritates the shit out of me because even when a Democrat has some good ideas, a Republican will not fucking vote for them just because they support Planned Parenthood. When me and my wife first started dating, that's where she got her birth control, was Planned Parenthood.
A lot of people, they go to Planned Parenthood just to, that's how they survive.
Should taxpayers be funding abortions? Probably not. I don't know for 100% sure that they ever were, but you don't want to get rid of Planned Parenthood because it does a lot of good.
Yeah, a whole lot.
Because there's people who can't afford birth control that you do not want having babies. You do not want them having babies. Because they're not going to take care of them. They're going to fucking ignore them. And then 20 years from now, guess what? That motherfucker's going to shoot up a school or some shit like that. And then they're going to use that to come for your fucking guns. So let them have the abortion, goddammit.
Damn, full circle. The whole thing comes full circle. We get it now. All the conspiracy theory.
Yeah. It's
the Republicans all along.
Yeah. Motherfuckers. They snowballed us.
I don't know. I really do hope people, that's kind of the whole idea with this whole podcast is, I've seen a few people and I've talked to a few of my friends and stuff like that, and they have some ideas or they have some opinions on the whole thing, but they don't most of the people, that's not something they care about. Say for instance, some of the people that we work with, that don't even know. It's you know about the shootings, but you don't have an opinion on the whole idea. It's something you probably should, because it's your constitutional right. When you get down to the heart of the thing, it's your constitutional rights that they're trying to take away. And that's something that you probably should care about, because before you die, in your lifetime, it's probably going to be happening. It's probably going to try to be passed. And it's something you're going to have to deal with at some point.
And the statistic that I just read earlier was 1 out of every 235 people in America will be murdered in their lifetime. If you think about it, we live in a town of 15,000 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll be murdered with a gun.
Yeah, just be murdered.
If they will, it'll probably be a handgun, because 90% of all gun crimes committed with handguns, not AR-15s. So, people need to learn how to take care of themselves. And we are literally raising a society of victims.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
We're just all sheltering them and everything.
David Hogg's dad's a former FBI guy. His mom, I think, is an analyst or a former analyst for CNN. How much money do you want to bet that I could walk into their house and there's not a gun in sight?
That's probably true. I don't even think it's anything like that. Honestly, I feel like it comes down to, people don't, it's just come down to this thing, for instance, I had this psychology class and they said that punishing your child was bad. Instead you should reward it, or you should, I wouldn't say condone,
you should
some negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. I'm just like, my negative reinforcement was a fucking switch. If I did something wrong, I got like a hairbrush to the head if she had it in her hand.
You know, we spanked Taylor. I think the last time I spanked Taylor, she was 5. There's a point, you know, in a child's development when the words don't really mean much. They can't. No, they have issues processing the idea of right and wrong, but they know when something hurts.
I mean, when dogs are as smart as a 7-year-old child, I feel like that should be the cutoff. Like, if they do something, like their minds is very simple. I do this thing, it hurts. I don't do this anymore.
Yeah, and I'm not saying beat your kid or because I was abused growing up. I was literally beaten. So, that's not a good thing. Don't do that. Don't take a belt to your kid. A smack on the hand should get the point across. Maybe a smack on their bottom with your open hand. Not like you'd hit a grown-ass man. Just spat them on the butt and they'll get the point. You ain't got to wail on them. You don't need to beat a kid for them to get the idea that you're not supposed to do that, I've seen people in Walmart and their kid would do something and they just raise them up by the hand and just cracking them. Yeah. Come on. Really? And, it gets to the point where you go up to people and you say, hey, chill the fuck out. Well, I'll do whatever I want to. I'm going to beat your ass like you owe me money if you hit that kid one more fucking time.
Yeah, right, yeah. there used to be this.
The kid is screaming its head off. It knows it fucked up. Yeah, you don't need to keep going.
You the first time you hit it, you probably don't need to hit it anymore. There's this friend I had, and I guess it kind of this is kind of how I look at what I guess the problem is. There's this friend I had, and her kid is just out of control. Can't do anything. Will throw tantrums in the middle of the store. It's ridiculous. Cannot control her kid, and gets whatever he wants. He wants it, gets whatever he wants. Does not get in trouble. And doesn't yell at him or anything. Just tells him stop or whatever to do that. Instead of being hey, stop that now, or smack him, because at the time he was young. So it's just ridiculous, man. I feel like it kind of carries over. People don't treat their kids or aren't raising their kids to be adults. They want to just coddle everything they have. And that even goes for when they're teenagers or something. They just want to coddle it. It's oh, don't worry about all these things that are going on. It'll be good. It'll be okay. And it's when I was young, yeah, you had to step up. I had to take care of feed myself and feed I had to learn how to survive. There's things I had to deal with on my own. And I feel like nowadays it's just everybody's being babied, I guess.
Yeah, they really are. When I was growing up, it was the 80s. It was a different time. We got off the school bus at 10 after 3. My parents didn't get home from work till 6 o'clock. My oldest sister's 4 years older than me. So, when she was 8 years old, we were home by our fucking selves for a good 3 hours. We didn't burn the goddamn house down. We didn't kill our neighbors. We had supper cooked when Dad got home. It's different now. It used to be back in the day the parents were respected. Now everything revolves around the kids. Back when I was growing up, everything revolved around Mom and Dad because Dad went to work all day. He worked his fucking ass off. Mom did too. And granted, my dad, when he was drinking, was a dickhead, and would beat. That's probably another reason we made damn sure supper was ready because we knew every other day, like clockwork, Dad was coming home drunk and shit better be on point or you're going to get an ass kicking. And I don't mean a spanking. I mean, you're going to get beat.
Literal boots.
Yeah, it's fucking... fucking 1980s Mike Tyson ass whooping,
Ear bitten off. And
that was. I think that was the 90s. Actually. In the 80s, Mike Tyson just decimated fuckers.
You're safer now.
Oh, this guy he's a great boxer. 7 seconds later, he's on the ground fucking, birds and shit around his head. But you respected your parents because of what they did for you. Nowadays, kids, they don't have any respect for anything. And it's they talk shit to their dad and they throw shit at their dad and they kick their dad. And it's like, if I did that, my dad would have broken me. Not figuratively.
Dang, like
literally.
Broke your back over your knee.
Like backhanded me into another plane of existence.
I'm in a different galaxy. How did this happen?
The fucking Star Wars crawl is passing me.
Yeah, you see it. They're like, whoa, I've never seen it from this side.
So, and, you know, one of my friends, he's got kids that are younger than me. He's got a daughter that's close to mine in age, but he also has younger, you know, I think they're 13 and 14 now. But it's like they would just scream at him and throw shit at him because he didn't cook what they wanted for dinner. And it's like he just took it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And you know what? His kid is 14. He's a fucking asshole. And eventually somebody's going to have enough of it and they're going to beat the shit out of him. Because he doesn't. Yeah. And how's that going to work when you go to work and your boss makes you work and you scream and throw shit at him?
No, you're going to get fired.
And eventually when you turn 18, you're going to fucking go to jail, probably, or not, and shoot up a school. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
But it's just, you know, when I was growing up, everything was about the parents. You did what your dad said. You did what if dad said feed the dogs, you fed the dogs. It's not in a minute, Joe. I'm fucking busy. Oh my fucking God. Really?
You did it now.
It's like Medea. It's like, what? What the hell did you just say? Boy, I will beat your ass.
Slapped you so fast you don't even hear the sound. Like it's you.
Little girl, pop that gun one more time. I swear to God, one more time. And I think that's a lot of it. You know, kids are raised nowadays to where if you don't want to do something, you don't have to. Life don't fucking work that. I didn't want to go to work today. Guess who the fuck was at work?
Yeah.
Me.
Every day struggle.
You know, you can't take whatever you want to in college and make a living at it. That's another thing. You got to prepare your kids for the real world and for the fact that if you say the wrong thing to the wrong guy, he might break your fucking jaw. Yeah. So, you know, there's no safe space. Your safe space is your house, as long as you got a gun. If you don't have a gun, then you have no safe space.
I feel like it probably is something as simple as that. Like, it probably does come down to, you know, just how people are raised. And I mean, like, I know parents don't like to be told how to raise their kid or anything like that, but I mean, I think it is really important. Like, even if you, like, at some point they're going to have to be on their own. And it might not be in the wilderness, like, you know, back in the old days, but like, they're going to have to know how to survive. And if you, like, don't instill in them in this thing of, you know, the world is harsh and they're going to have to deal with it and they're going to have to be hardened to it and they're going to have to learn how to survive and, you know, get food or do these things or, you know, deal with tough stuff just to get to the end goal. Like, I mean, I do feel like nowadays people, they just don't teach that. And that's what comes to the problem, like, comes down to the problem of that. Like, especially with the Waffle House shooter. Like, the dad gave him his guns back. Yeah. I think that's a big precursor. Like, that's a big sign of how the kid was raised. He probably was given everything.
Yeah, probably was.
That's probably how he ended up being the way he was. Like, it's just ridiculous to me. And I feel like that's probably where it should start. I don't feel like it's where it is going to start. No. I mean, people are stubborn, so.
Well, the whole not telling people how to raise their kids thing, if their kid lived on an island by themselves, I would agree with that. Oh, you shouldn't tell me how to raise my kid. Well, you know, your fucking kid lives next door to me, so him being an asshole kind of affects me a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I'd like for you to get a handle on that. But I'm the guy, you know, if you don't get your kid to stop doing this, I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, just because.
That's what it boils down to, you know. So here's what, you know, I'll be more than happy to work out a solution with you. Maybe you tell your kid that when I tell him to stop doing something, he stops doing it. And you know that I'm not going to tell your kid to stop doing something unless he's doing something he's not supposed to be doing. You know, kind of like it used to be in the old days, because when I was a kid and an adult said, quit fucking doing that, and he's not your dad, you didn't say, you're not my fucking daddy, because he'd run over there and punch you in the fucking head. You stopped doing it. And then when you went home and you told your dad, you said, hey, Daddy, Bob down the street punched me in the face because I was setting his cat on fire and he told me to stop it. And I told him he wasn't my fucking daddy. And then your dad punched you in the fucking head because you're being an asshole.
He drove you down there and punched you in the head again.
Exactly. And then he went and told your mom and she punched you in the fucking head. Maybe we just need more fucking head punches. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
But there's no respect for adults anymore. I never, when I was a kid, would have dreamed of talking to an adult that way. It was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And my dad, biggest cocksucker in the world, violent, fucking abusive, drunk. You were respectful to everybody, or he would get you.
I mean, I guess there is a certain, point that it stops. Like, if they make it past, 18 or anything like that, I guess it kind of changes and they, maybe, the respect does come. At least I kind of noticed. I have seen people, obviously, who aren't respectful. I'm they're working at McDonald's or some shit like that. Doing nothing. Yeah. But, I do feel like it's more evident with, younger kids, even kids from, 7 and up. You talking about 7 to 18, you can tell how they're going to be if they're respectful to you or not. When I was younger, that's how it was. It doesn't matter who it was. Somebody told you to stop doing it and they're older than you and you stop doing it.
It's called common courtesy because it was common back then. It should be called uncommon courtesy.
Rare courtesy?
Non-existent courtesy nowadays.
Courtesy? Is that what it's called? I do have to say I have seen some courtesy. I have seen people with it. It's not out of there completely, but I do feel like it's waning. It's going. It's going hard.
Yeah,
it's
real bad. It's definitely a very different world than it used to be. Kids get away with stuff that you never would have even dreamed of when I was growing up. I'm not. I know I seem old to people that are 18 years old, but believe me when I tell you, 40 ain't that fucking old.
Oh, and it creeps up on you.
Oh my God. Once you hit 21, it's like they turn on the JATO rockets. And it's because you got nothing to look forward to after that. Retirement at 65?
Yeah. Good luck making it there.
Yeah.
I blinked at 20 and I'm fucking almost 25 now.
Yeah.
Jesus, where did that go? Holy hell. It's just crazy.
But it wasn't that long ago that all the things we talked about, you'd go to school and there's guns in every car, guns in every house, guns under the seat of the truck. I grew up with guns. My dad started teaching me to shoot at 4.
I remember shooting guns whenever I was young. 7 or 8 probably.
Nowadays, it's you have a picture of a gun on your shirt and people call the fucking police on you.
You have an NRA sticker on your
It's they're so terrified of them. And a lot of it I think is that people don't shoot, first of all. One of my wife's friends on her Facebook, I don't think she's ever shot a gun. And her dad's a big Second Amendment guy. He carries a gun with him everywhere. She flat refuses to shoot. I know for a fact she said she would never shoot an AR-15, which to me would change her mind on them because she's, your typical Democrat, the evil black gun, that shoots fucking Tomahawk cruise missiles and, as soon as you walk in the room with one, the flowers wilt and shit like that, But if you've ever shot one, it's barely more recoil than a pellet rifle. And you think I'm being sarcastic, but I'm really not. You can hold one-handed and shoot it easily. They're an intermediate cartridge. It sort of bridges the gap between real rifles like 308s and 30-06s and submachine guns that shoot pistol rounds. 45s, 10 millimeter shit. It's a tweener round basically. I mean, they're tiny. The case form is 56 millimeters tall, so about like that. They shoot a 65 grain bullet. I mean, a fucking 9 millimeter shoots a bullet twice that size. Slower, a 30-06 shoots a bullet 3 times that size, the same speed. Which one did you rather get shot with?
I guess it's true.
Yeah. And that's another thing that people, they want to ban AR-15s when dude shows up at the school with a 30-06 that does literally twice the kinetic energy as an AR-15. Do you think he's not going to kill more people? Or he shows up with a 12-gauge shotgun?
Yeah, that's game over.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're not going after the shotguns, honestly.
I guess it's because
that's the biggest thing. Like when you're a kid, like especially now, like they kind of gave it to you. Like it's like here's this evil gun. And
my daughter got her first shotgun at 12, so 6 years ago.
It's just nowadays media portrays this thing like the AR-15 is this evil thing, and it's just there, so they instantly pick that thing.
Well, that's what they know.
Yeah. I mean, it's
from, and a lot of it, the reason they know the gun is from video games.
Yeah.
They know it looks like an M16 and it looks like an M4, and they've played Call of Duty and they know what it is, and they know you can kill lots of people with it. And yeah, you can. The same thing that makes an AR-15 a good weapon to have for defending your house is the same thing that makes it good to shoot at a crowded hallway full of kids. You can put a lot of lead down range in a short amount of time. Yeah. That's exactly what it was designed to do. That's why we went from using the 30-06 cartridge in the older rifles in World War I and World War II to using the 5.56 in Vietnam, is because you can carry more ammo because it's way smaller, and you can put a lot of lead down range because it's basically recoilless. I mean, it essentially, there's a little recoil, but it's nothing. If you go full auto, it'll climb on you because anything will. Yeah. But if you're doing semi-auto or 3-round bursts, it's extremely controllable. And that's the thing that makes it great for a woman to use around the house. You know, your wife is not a small woman. I'm not saying she's big, but she's not a small woman. If you've got a 110-pound girl trying to use a 12-gauge shotgun to defend her house, it's going to put her on her ass 9 times out of 10 because they kick like mules. But she can control an AR-15 just fine because it's a tiny little baby gun. So I'd rather honestly be shot with a 10mm than an AR-15. I said that backwards, probably because I'm sleepy. But,
right, yeah. It's pretty late.
Yeah. Is that your phone going off?
Yeah.
Is your wife on break?
Yeah, she's on break.
Tell her I said we're busy.
Busy.
The men are talking.
The men are talking. Oh, man. But, I don't know. I guess it does just come down to you know, how children are raised now. Like, it's just something that, I mean, it keeps going. Media is just, you know,
I think
nobody else is allowed to talk. Like, it's all just bad.
I think that's a piece in the puzzle. You know, you get into inner city crap where there's basically no way, you know, the people in Chicago that are killing each other on there's no way out.
No, yeah.
You know, their grades aren't good enough. They're not going to college. There's no jobs except McDonald's. You know, if you ever want to make any kind of living, it's going to be slinging drugs and killing fuckers. You know, and the broken mental health system, that's a huge part of it. Maybe if these people like Nicholas Cruz could get some help, maybe he wouldn't have shot up a school. Maybe if somebody had took the time to not be a complete cocksucker to that kid on a daily basis, maybe he wouldn't have shot up the school. Because he had a rough life.
They do say all it takes is a smile. So,
yeah.
I mean, you never really know until you try.
If you look at his backstory, I mean, I'm not saying that's 100% to blame. I think the kid's obviously a sociopath, probably a psychopath. But he had a rough life. He did. He had a real... And then, you know, getting constant shit at school probably didn't make it any better.
It never does. Honestly.
No.
It never does.
And he doesn't look like the stand up and fight kind of kid. You know, he's wormy, he's a skinny little shit.
That's most of the time, like with Dylan Roof. I haven't seen the dude that shot up Waffle House, but I mean, like Columbine and stuff like that. Like,
I've seen some headshots of the guy that shot up Waffle House, and I mean, he looks like a relatively normal guy. The fact he was trying to get into the White House.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why he wasn't already in jail.
You would think. I was kind of surprised he didn't get shot. It's like, he's trying to break into the White House. You don't know what he's got.
Yeah. He could be strapped to the gills with C4 for all you fucking know.
He like fucking gets near the door, fucking blows the whole place up. You never really know.
No. And I don't understand that. How do you get across the fence at the White House and not catch a bullet?
That's what I thought.
Everybody in the world, everybody knows you're not supposed to be on the other fucking side of that fence unless you've got an invitation. So why?
By God, you catch a sniper bullet to the kneecap or something.
It makes no sense why there's not people on the roof of the White House with fucking rifles and look at that motherfucker climb the fence. Boom!
Gone,
I got him!
Like, gone. Like, it's just crazy. I don't know.
But, you know, it makes me wonder if... Didn't that happen a few years back, too? I seem to remember Joe Rogan talking about it in a comedy special.
Yeah. Actually, somebody tried to break in.
Yeah.
It was...
And made it all the way to, like, one of the doors or some shit.
It was during Obama's presidency. I think it was during his second term. This guy was, like, absolutely batshit crazy, too. And, like, he had, like, all these other conspiracies.
You kind of gotta be.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
You know.
But this guy was, like, fucking crazy. Like, off the wall. I remember that guy. And I was like, what? Like,
how's he not dead?
The most protected man in the world. You would think that, like, you cross into it, like, fucking shot instantly. Like, maybe not killed, but you're getting shot. Like,
or fucking robots pop up out of the ground or something.
Fucking arms come up and, like, fucking grab you and hold you.
It's like as soon as your feet hit that ground, if you don't have the special Secret Service insoles, you're immediately, like, electrocuted. You know, or something. Sentry guns pop up. There's got to be something.
Some crazy shit. I don't know.
But yeah, anybody that climbs that fence over to the other side immediately should be barred from ever owning a weapon because you got to be nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I've hated people that sat in that White House. I'm kind of on the fence with Trump. I'm not a fan, but I don't hate the guy. I think he's a fucking shithead. But
never to that point.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Obama's either, but I never thought about rushing the fucking White House.
Yeah, and fucking killing myself.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it's going to come down to. So.
George, was it W? Not his dad. I mean, I was still too young when his dad was president. But W, I mean, I thought the whole going to a war in Iraq was horse shit back then, you know. And I was early 20s, I think. I'm like, he's just finishing daddy's work. That's the whole reason we're going to war. And then I found out that Halliburton got the first no-bid contract after 9/11. Who's on the fucking board of directors for Halliburton? Oh, Dick fucking Cheney. Imagine that shit.
Big fucking surprise.
Yeah, I never thought about rushing the fucking White House. And, you know, come on. If you do that, you're nuts. And that's who should be in Gitmo. That's who we should have down there.
Yeah.
That's the guy. Yeah. Oh, you bum rush the White House? Come with us. We got a room for you.
We got a special room for you. Oh, man. I don't know.
Are we done?
Yeah, we're done. It's just crazy. You know, we'll let you go.
Well,
it was nice having you on.
The longer I talk, the longer I'll talk.
Yeah, right. So, it's a very conversation.
We'll continue this again, and I'll actually remember to save my notes before I delete them this time.
I'm sure there's some other stuff that you'll have strong opinions about that pop up in the future.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Fortunately, you caught me after income tax season because that would have been a 5-hour conversation there.
Yeah, we'd still be here.
On the income tax.
Yeah, 12 o'clock in the morning, yeah.
But vote Rand Paul.
Yeah. Anyways, that'll be it. Thanks everybody for listening. And thank you, Joey.
You're welcome. I'll send you a bill.